we could just get around to it. You know, my things could be replaced, my physical could be completed, my bad habits could be broken, my diet could be improved, my waist size could shrink if I could just get around to it. If I could just get around to it, I could free myself from mental anchors and permit proper priorities to emerge in my mind. Big chunks of my life could actually fall into place. The undisciplined and careless leaks in my time dike could get plugged. My prayer life could be more reliable. My Bible reading could be more regular. My giving could be more consistent. I might even have time to volunteer for a ministry or serve my church, help my community, invest quality time with my children, get connected to a small group if I could just get around to it. Is there anybody in here today honest enough to admit that sometimes you have a hard time getting around to it? We put off a whole lot of things until when? Later. There's a hint of procrastination in all of us. The dictionary defines the word procrastinate this way: to put off doing something, especially out of habitual carelessness or laziness. The reason we can't get around to it is that most of us, if the truth be told, are habitual procrastinators. We never take the necessary action we need to take in order to change our circumstances. Ushers, you may be seated. You may be seated. Amen. Brother Rick Warren writes that procrastination is a universal problem. Most of us know what we need to do, we just put it off. And see, the problem with procrastination is that it becomes a way of life. The more you do it, the better you become at it. Anybody in here real good at procrastinating? I ain't gonna get no help with this sermon today. But see, Gloria Pitzer says, procrastination is my sin. It brings me nothing but sorrow. I know that I should stop it. In fact, I will tomorrow. You see, this week I discovered several websites on the internet that were dedicated to the art of procrastination. One website was named despair.com, and it contained what they call demotivators. These are little note cards, calendars, and posters you can put in your office at work to demotivate you to do your best. One of them actually reads like this: procrastinate. Hard work pays off over time, but laziness pays off now. Amen. One of the most stunning examples of procrastination is found in our text today with Pharaoh. The book of Exodus informs us that after 400 years of slavery, God had commissioned Moses to go to Egypt and to issue an ultimatum to the presiding potentate of the period. He told him to go down to Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. But see, Pharaoh was arrogant, stubborn, hard-hearted. So God proceeded to release ruin on his regime through a series of vicious plagues. You heard of the 10 plagues of Egypt. Letting him know that his arms were too short to box with God. And the second in this string of disasters was a plague of frogs. Now, to the uninformed observer, this plague might not appear as punishment at all because the Egyptians actually loved frogs. Frogs were considered sacred and closely associated with the national religion, so an abundance of frog on the surface does not sound like it's detrimental as long as the frogs were in or near the river. Yet the text testifies that there were so many frogs swarming the banks of the Nile that they overflowed the river and invited themselves into the home of the Egyptians. Now, many of you may not be able to empathize with this notion of frogs being around, but some of you have had your own experience when things invite themselves into your house. So just take frogs out of the text and put something in that you can deal with, that you can associate with. Amen. It may not be frog, it might be roaches. I just lost half of y'all in here. Because you want to front and act like you ain't never seen no roaches. Amen. It might be mice. Am I in the right house? Somebody understands what it's like to have the need some pest control. Amen. And so these frogs were everywhere. They opened up the kitchen cupboard and a frog was there. They went to sit on their favorite chair and there was a frog there. When they pulled back the sheets on their bed to go to bed at night, ribbit, there was a frog there. When they opened the oven, a frog was there. When they stirred the dough to make the bread, they would notice strange lumps wiggling in the flour because a frog was there. When they went to put their spoon in their Fruit Loops, y'all ain't gonna help me in here, there was a frog in there. The entire land of Egypt was overrun by frogs. Pharaoh was ruler of the ancient world superpower, a man whose military was the dread of every nation, and yet God brought him to his knees, not with a battalion of soldiers, but with an army of frogs. You see, God is God, and God doesn't need a compelling army. God doesn't need a squadron of angels or a thunderbolt of justice to get us right. God can use some little things to get our attention. With frogs everywhere, Pharaoh had apparently seen enough. So he summoned Moses and Aaron, and look at the text. The text said he begged them to remove the frogs. Talk to your God. And then he consented that if they did so, I'll let your people go. So Moses said, Pharaoh, you set the time. Tell me when you want the frogs gone, and I'll talk to God about it. Just say the word, and I'll stop the frogs. You know what Pharaoh's response was? Do it tomorrow. I don't know about you, but if my house was overrun with roaches, if roaches were in my Cheerios, y'all ain't gonna help me. They were crawling up in my bed and in my shoes, and somebody said, I can get rid of the roaches. When do you want me to get rid of the roaches? I would say yesterday. Am I in the right house? But notice in the text what Pharaoh says. He says, do it tomorrow. Here he was being consumed with frogs, and he wanted to wait until tomorrow to get rid of them. Moses, I want just one more night with the frogs. I just want to cuddle up next to them one more night. I just want to share my soup with them just one more night. How often has that one word gotten us into trouble? Tomorrow. Look at somebody and say tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll start working on my weight. Look at somebody and say, Pastor meddling now. Yeah. Tomorrow, I'll live on a budget. But I'm eating at Ruby's today. Y'all ain't gonna help me preach now. Tomorrow, I'll tackle my debt. I'll quit smoking. I'll stop nagging. I'll stop complaining. I'll stop grumbling. Tomorrow, I'll do a better job. I'll become more effective, more efficient, more organized, more compassionate. Tomorrow, I'll spend some time with my kids. I'll compliment my spouse. I'll fix the house. I'll join the church. I'll give my life to God. Tomorrow, I'll get around to it. And when tomorrow comes, look at your neighbor and say, today is the tomorrow that you were talking about yesterday. Oh, yeah. Most of us plan to do right. We just don't plan to do it now. We want one more night with the frogs. Why did Pharaoh procrastinate. And why do we procrastinate? Sometimes we procrastinate because, one, we are indecisive.